The current state of our education system is concerning. In the United States, dropout rates in public schools are twice the percentage of private schools. Over $3.5 billion of government funds were amassed to Detroit's public school with no fruitful results, and the public school showed no initiative to improve. This, ladies and gentlemen, is the flaw in our public education system. We should not sacrifice the future of our children while we are waiting for public school to reform. And that is why we need to use school vouchers to allow the freedom of choice for these students to pursue the best education possible. Although the specifics of this program of school vouchers vary with locality, all government would distribute monetary vouchers to parents who could then use them to pay the cost of private, including parochial or religious schools. We have 5 points of model. The first, we are only going to give the school vouchers to the middle to lower class of the society in order to enable them to have better opportunity to learn. Second, the values of school voucher will be based on how much the state spends on each student's education in status quo. For example, $18,000 for students residing in District of Columbia or $19,000 for students residing in New York. Third, we'll establish information sources such as website or information center that allow the public to access schools' academic performance and quality, such as grades, number of students per class, student to faculty ratio, and graduation rates that will be assessed yearly by the state. Fourth, the school should meet the basic requirement that government have within status quo, such as adhering to national curriculum and etc. Fifth, the allocation of funding to public school will be determined by how many enrollments do they have. So we are not stopping funding the public schools. Like in states such as Arkansas and the United States, they divide the funding to both school vouchers and public school and still be able to maintain a relatively good public school system. But even if we have a worse public school in our side of the house, that's the trade-off that we are willing to make. We have 2 points of argument. First, why the choice for the right of education is more important than the effort to improve public education, and second argument, how do we improve the public education system in our side of the house. So the first argument, why is the choice for rights to education more important than the effort to improve public school? So the first part of this argument, we believe that the current public schools are failing. It has a bad facility, their books are not updated, and the amount of teacher is limited. It is inherently harmful because it hampers student ability to get the knowledge and the skills that are necessary for their future. We believe that the current education system is going to be less likely to improve in their side of the house. There are many obstacles that is difficult to be overcome in building a very new public schools. 3 reasons. First of all, the students need to wait for the improvement of the current public schools. Even if we have the money to build public schools to solve the problem of overcrowded classes, we still need to wait. We believe that waiting it to improve means we sacrifice the current students that currently studying in the bad public school. We believe we need to send them to private school if it is necessary. But secondly, schools need a massive amount of money to build from the scratch. In average, we need $183 million to build a public school in USA. The amount of money that can be used to pay for education of thousands of individuals from the disenfranchised community, instead it is used to build a very new public school from the scratch. But third of all, by having a better facility of public school does not mean we have inadequate teachers or school staff or resources to employ. Meanwhile, in private school, they already have the teachers and school staff that is sufficient and capable in maintaining a good education system privately. The second line of this argument, we need to ask question as to why do these people have the right to choose where they want they want to go to school to begin with. We believe that principally, one of the purpose of education system is to minimize the gap that is created by the birth lottery, to weaponize the disenfranchised with knowledge to break the barrier. Currently, the poor students are trapped on the bad side of birth lottery because they are unable to access the choice in which they can determine the best education, unlike what the rich and wealthy counterparts are able to do so. In our side of the house, the moment the poor can enter the same education, same school with the rich, most likely they will have a more equal result in terms of the university that they will attend or the jobs that they will occupy. On their side of the house, the gap of birth lottery will be perpetuated. The poor can only attend bad public school and the rich will always get the upper hand. But third of all, we also believe that we need to understand the subjective needs of the students and the families. Some families want to send their children to religious school in order for the children to be religious. Some parents want the best treatment for their disabled kid. We need to cater to their needs. But unfortunately, in the current normal, secular, and unspecial school, they are unable to do so because the facility is not adequate. The school, the teachers, unable to provide the subjective needs of these individuals. So in our side of the house, we think we are going to cater to those needs. But now the second argument. How will school vouchers better the education system? We understand that the quality of public schools might be compromised. Less money to run events, minimum wage for teachers and funding facilities, but we think it is fine to dissolve an effective institution that do not ameliorate them and instead leech off the money from the education system. Furthermore, we think that free market mechanism that you have under our sub the house, where the children now have the opportunity to choose whichever medium of education is best for their needs and secure a decent job in their future lives, we think it's going to result in a better education system for three reasons. The first reason is because we are going to create better competition that will incentivize the public school to compete with other public schools and private schools. Because on their side, they will use lump sum payment as a mechanism to fund a public school, just paying them regardless their performance. In our side, their funding, the salary and income of the teachers and the school staff are contingent on how many enrollment that they admit every year. Therefore, the teachers and the staff will be incentivized to create better teaching system in order to attract more students to come into their school. But second reason, we transform private school into one that serves the rich but also the marginalized. Right now, private schools are targeting a very niche market that is the middle upper class. School voucher system broaden the education spectrum and encourage private institutions to tap into the market of the bottom 40%. This will result in a more establishment of private schools. Students coming from low-income households can have the opportunity to attend high-ranking private schools such as the Upper Columbia Academy, one of the nation's top schools, which tuition fee is a mere $9,000 annually. Impossible to afford without a school voucher, now made widely available for many school vouchers recipient. But the third reason is why we are going to improve the public school system is because another crucial thing that would change is the number of students attending public schools. The current student-teacher ratio in public school is 16:1, when the ideal amount is only 10:1. This makes it harder for teachers to provide the necessary personalized attention and personalized care for each individual, for each student. As a fraction of students move to private school, with our proposal, there are less students to attend to, making it easier for the teachers to better attend to each student's need and provide them with a more effective education, both in the student that is still left in the public school, but also students that have moved into the private school. We think this crisis in education will lead into the intergenerational poverty in their side of the house for the most vulnerable people. In our side of the house, we are going to alleviate the disenfranchised. We think we are going to ensure these people will climb up the socio-economic ladder in a better way. So for all those reasons, we have backed you to support school vouchers for the betterment of all teachers, for the betterment of all students.